You should be realising by now that looks are more often than not deceiving. A neighbourhood like this, with its graffiti and litter and squalor, is the safest neighbourhood you could possibly visit. Open the door to any one of these houses around us and you walk into a veritable palace. Surface is nothing, Stephanie. I'll try to remember that, she said as she followed him to a little shop perched on the corner. She looked around for a sign. Is this the tailor's? Bespoke's tailor? Yes. But there's no sign. There aren't any clothes in the window. How would anyone know it's even open? Ghastly doesn't need to advertise. He has a very specific clientele, and he really can't afford to let ordinary people wander in when he's measuring out a new suit for an 8-armed octopus man. Are you serious? There's an 8-armed octopus man? There's a whole colony of octopus people, Skulduggery said as they approached the door. Really? Good God, Stephanie! Of course not. That would be far too silly. He walked on before she could even try to hit him. The shop door was unlocked and he led the way in. Stephanie was surprised by how clean and bright and ordinary looking it was. She didn't know what she was expecting. Mannequins that came alive and tried to eat you, perhaps. There was a nice smell in here too. Comforting. Ghastly Bespoke walked out from the back room, and when he saw them, he smiled. He shook Skulduggery's hand warmly. He was broad-shouldered and his scars covered his whole head. When Skulduggery turned to introduce Stephanie and he saw the way she was staring at Ghastly, he shrugged. Don't mind her, he said. She stares. That's what she does when she meets new people. I'm quite used to it, Ghastly said, still smiling. Do you want to shake hands, miss, or start off with something easy, like waving? Stephanie felt herself blush, and she stuck out her hand quickly. His hand was normal, no scars, but tough and strong. Do you have a name? He asked. Not yet, she admitted. Better make sure that you really want one before you think any more about it. This life isn't for anyone. She nodded slowly, but not sure what he was getting at. He took a moment, looking her up and down. There's been some trouble. Some, answered Skulduggery. Then the proper attire is called for. Ghastly took out a small pad, started jotting down notes. Do you have a favourite colour? He asked her. I'm sorry. To wear? Any preference? I'm not sure I understand. Not all of the clothes I make are merely examples of exquisite tailoring. Sometimes, if the situation arises, special requirements are required. Such as keeping you safe until this whole thing is over, Skulduggery said. Ghastly can make you a suit, nothing too formal, which could very possibly save your life too. Fashion, said Ghastly, with a shrug. It's life or death. His pen was at the ready. So once more, do you have a favourite colour to wear? I'm not sure I could afford it. Ghastly shrugged. I'll put it on Skulduggery's tag. Go nuts. Stephanie blinked. To go from her mother buying most of her clothes to this was a step she hadn't been expecting. I don't know. I'm not sure. Black? Ghastly nodded and scribbled in his notebook. Can't go wrong with black. He looked up at Skulduggery. Just let me lock up, he said, then we can talk properly. While they waited for him to do so, Skulduggery and Stephanie wandered into the back of the shop. Material and fabrics of all types and textures were arranged very neatly in massive shelves that lined the walls. There was a single workplace in the centre of the room and another doorway leading further back. He's going to make me some clothes, Stephanie whispered. Yeah, he is. Doesn't he need to take measurements or something? One glance, that's all he needs. They passed through into a small living room, and moments later Ghastly joined them. Stephanie and Skulduggery sat on the narrow sofa, and Ghastly sat in the armchair opposite, both feet flat on the ground and fingers steepled. So what's all this about? He asked. We're investigating Gordon Edgley's murder, Skulduggery said. Murder? Ghastly said after a short pause. Indeed. Who would want to kill Gordon? We think Serpine did it. We think he was just looking for something. Skull? Ghastly said, frowning. Usually when you want my help, you just call and we go off and you get me into a fight. You've never explained what's going on before, so why are you doing it now? This is a different type of help I need. So you don't need me to hit anyone. Well, we'd just like your help in finding out what Serpine is after. I see, Ghastly said, nodding his head. You don't see, do you? No, Ghastly said immediately. I don't really know what you want me to do, actually. We think Serpine is after the sceptre of the ancients, Stephanie said, wrong accent. And she felt Skulduggery sink lower into the cushion beside her. The what? Ghastly said, his smile reappearing. You're not serious, are you? Listen, I don't know what my dear friend here has been saying, but the sceptre isn't real. Serpine thinks it's real, but he thinks he had something to do with my uncle's death. I'm sorry for your loss, Ghastly said. I really am. I respected Gordon. He knew there was magic in the world and he wasn't seduced by it. He just wanted to observe and to write about it. That takes a strength that I hope has been passed on to you, dear. Stephanie didn't answer. Skulduggery didn't dare look at her. But, Ghastly continued, to say that his death has something to do with the legend that has been passed down from generation to generation and that has changed with each telling is just nonsense. He had a heart attack. He was mortal. He died. That's what mortals do. Let him have his death. I think my uncle knew where the sceptre is, or he had it and Serpine killed him, and now Serpine knows where it is and he wants a key. What key? The key to get the sceptre, maybe, we're not sure. What we do know is that he tried to kill me twice to get it. Ghastly shook his head. This isn't your world. I'm a part of it now. You've just stepped into it. You've seen magic and sorcerers and a living skeleton, and I bet you're having great fun, but you haven't the slightest idea what is at stake here. Skulduggery didn't say anything. Stephanie got to her feet. You know what, she said. For me, this is an adventure. That's what you're saying, isn't it? Well, you're right. I do look at this as a big adventure, and I'm fascinated and excited and thrilled by it all. I've seen amazing people do amazing things, and I have, yes, been amazed. Her eyes hardened. But don't you dare for 1 second think that this is just a game for me. My uncle left me a fortune. He left me everything I could ever want. He did all of that for me, but he's dead now. So now I'm going to do something for him. I'm going to find out who killed him. And I'm going to do what I can to make sure they don't just walk away from it. He's going to have someone on his side. This is insane, Ghastly said, leaning forward in his chair. The sceptre's a fairy tale. I believe it exists. Of course you believe it exists. You've been dragged into a world where you think anything can happen. But that's not how it works. Your uncle involved himself in this, and if what you say is true, he got killed for it. Are you so eager to do the same? You're playing with fire. Everyone around here plays with fire. This ain't gone the way I was expecting, Skulduggery said. There are rules for things like this, Ghastly said, ignoring her and speaking to Skulduggery. There is a reason why we don't tell everyone we're out there. She is a prime example of why. Stephanie's anger flared, and she knew she couldn't talk now without her voice cracking and betraying her. So she dashed past Ghastly. She walked through the shop and locked the door and walked out onto the street. She could feel the anger twisting in her insides, making her fingers curl. She hated not being treated as an equal. She hated being talked down to, and she hated the feeling of being protected. She didn't much like to be ignored either. Skulduggery emerged from the shop a few minutes later, hat back on. He walked up to her, and she leaned against the Bentley, arms crossed and staring at a crack in the pavement. Well, that went well, he said. When she didn't answer, he nodded and said, Did I tell you how I first met Ghastly? I don't want to know. Ah, all right then. Silence drifted down like smog. It's not very interesting anyway, but it has pirates in it. I couldn't care less, Stephanie said. Is he going to help us or not? Well, he doesn't think it's a great idea to have you with me on in anyway. Oh, really? Stephanie responded. He seems to think I'm being irresponsible. And what do you think? I have been known to be irresponsible in the past. It's entirely plausible that it's happening again. Do you think I'm in danger? Oh, yeah. Serpine still believes you're in possession of whatever key he's looking for. The moment he learns who you are or where you are, he'll send someone else. You're in, and I don't think I'm exaggerating here, especially very grave danger. Then let's be absolutely clear on this, okay? I can't leave this. I can't go back to my dull, boring life, even if I wanted to. I've seen too much. I'm involved here. It's my uncle who was murdered. It's my life that was in danger, and I'm not just about to walk away. That's all there is to it. Well, I'm convinced. So why are we just standing around doing nothing? My question exactly, Skulduggery said, unlocking the Bentley. They got in, and the Bentley rattled to life. At the turn of the key, Skulduggery checked in his rearview mirror, then the wing mirrors, then remembered that he didn't have any wing mirrors anymore, and pulled out onto the road. So, we don't get to look at his family collection, Stephanie asked as they drove. Ghastly's a good man, and a good friend, and precisely the kind of person you want on your side, but he's also one of the most stubborn people I know. In 4 days, once he has had time to think, he'll change his mind, and we'll get quite happily let us see what we need to see, but until then, we don't have a hope, no. Wouldn't the books be in China's library too? Skulduggery made a noise halfway between a laugh and a grunt. China's been after those books for years, but they're locked away where even she can't reach them. You know where they are. In the vault. In a vault? So what? Not a vault, the vault. It's a series of chambers housed beneath the Dublin Municipal Art Gallery, very well protected, where they don't take kindly to trespassers. Stephanie took a moment and spoke. Ghastly will change his mind in 4 days. That's how long it usually takes. But we don't have 4 days, do we? No, we don't. So you know what we have to do, right? Unfortunately, yes. We need to look at that collection. Skulduggery looked at her. I knew you'd be good at this. The moment I saw you. I knew you had an instinct for this job. So we break into the vault. He nodded reluctantly. We break into the vault. The Dublin Municipal Art Gallery was situated in one of the more affluent parts of the city, a gleaming triumph of steel and glass. It stood alone and proud, its lush gardens keeping the other buildings at a respectable distance. Stephanie and Skulduggery parked across the road, as part of what Skulduggery called a preliminary stakeout. They weren't going to break into the vault yet, he assured her. They were just here to get some idea of what they were up against. They had just seen the gallery staff and half a dozen security guards leave the building, their shift over for the day. 2 people, a man and a woman dressed in blue overalls, passed them on the steps and entered the gallery, locking the doors behind them. Ah, Skulduggery said from beneath the scarf. We may have a problem. What problem? Stephanie asked. Them. Who were they? The night shift. 2 people, that's all. They're not exactly people. So who are they? It's not so much who as a what. I swear, Skulduggery, you either give me a straight answer or I'm finding the biggest dog you've ever seen and I'm going to make him dig a hole and bury you in it. Oh, that's charming, that is, Skulduggery said. That made it sound like he was clearing his throat, though there was nothing to clear and no actual throat to clear it from. Do you notice the way they moved? Very. I don't know. Gracefully. What about it? Are they dancers? The vault has ballerina security guards. The vampires, Skulduggery said. The vault has security vampires. Stephanie made a show of poking her head out of the window and looking up at the sky. The sun's still out, Skulduggery. It's still very much bright. Don't matter to them. She frowned. Doesn't sunlight kill them? Doesn't it turn them to dust or make them burst into flames or something? No, it doesn't. Vampires tan just like you and me. Well, just like you. I tend to bleach. So sunlight has no effect on them. It binds them. It dampens their powers. During the day, they're all for intents and purposes mortal. But when the sun goes down, the powers do flare up. I didn't know that. And the vault employs 2 of them as their night shift. The ultimate guard dogs, as you will. If sunlight doesn't hurt them, I don't suppose crosses will scare them off. The best way to stop a vampire is with a whole lot of bullets. And since we don't want to hurt anyone, this is that problem I was telling you about. There must be a way to get by them. We could disguise ourselves as cleaning staff or something. No one works when vampires are around. Vampires don't make a distinction between allies or prey. They can't resist the bloodlust any more than a moth can resist a big bright light. They're killers. The most efficient, deadly killers on the face of the planet. Ooh, scary. Yes, well, vampires aren't known for being cute. Very well, then. We're just going to have to come up with something really, really clever. Skulduggery paused, then shrugged. Well, I suppose I'm really good at that. Chapter 9. The Troll Beneath Westminster Bridge. Skulduggery took Stephanie home, and as she was lying in bed that night, finally drifting off to sleep, a young woman in London was hunkering down and peering into the darkness. Hello, she said. Anyone down there? The Thames was dark and rushing beneath her, but no one answered. She glanced at her watch and then looked around. Excuse me, it was 7 minutes to midnight, and Westminster Bridge was empty except for her. Perfect. Hello, she said again. I need to talk to you. Her voice answered. There's no one down here. I think there is, she said. No, came the voice. No one. I think there's a troll down there, the young woman said, and I need to talk to him. Her face rose up out of the shadows, small and wrinkled, with large ears and a shock of spiky black hair. Huge eyes blinked at her. What do you want? The troll asked. I want to talk to you, the young woman answered. I'm Tanith Lowe. What's your name? The troll shook his head. No, not telling you. Not telling that. Ah, yes, Tanith said. Trolls only have one name, isn't that right? Yes, one name, no telling. But I can guess. Isn't that how it goes? If I guess your name correctly, what happens then? The troll grinned, showing lots of sharp yellow teeth. You get to live, he said, and if I get it wrong, the troll giggled, you get eaten. That sounds like a fun game, Tanith said with a smile. What time do you usually play? Midnight. Stroke of. Yes, when I'm strong. And you pop out from under there at whoever's passing, don't you? 3 chances, the troll thus nodded. 3 chances is what they get. They guess the name, don't get eaten, get it wrong, come along. Do you want to play it with me? The grin faded on the troll's face. Not strong yet, need to wait. Yes, yes, stroke of midnight. We don't have to wait, do we? Tanith said with a pout. I want to play now. I bet I can guess your name. No, you can't, but I can. No, you can't, the troll said, giggling again. Come on up out of there, we'll see. Yes, let's play the game. Tanith glanced at her watch and stepped back as the troll scampered up. 2 minutes to midnight. He was small up to her waist, with thin arms and legs and a bloated belly. His fingernails were hardened and pointed, and he was grinning in anticipation, though keeping his distance. She let her coat fall open a little and smiled at him. You're a handsome little fellow, aren't you? Are you the only troll in London? Only one, he said proudly. Now come, now we play. Guess the name, don't get eaten, get it wrong, come along. Guess, guess, guess. Let's see, she said, taking a step closer. The troll narrowed its eyes and stepped back. Towards the edge of the bridge, she stopped moving. Is your name Bollow Hollow? The troll roared with laughter. No, 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 not Bollow Hollow Hollow. 2 guesses left, only 2. This is harder than I thought, said Tanith. You're really good at this, aren't you? Best, very best. Not many people have guessed your name, huh? No one, the troll cackled. Guess, guess, guess. Is it Fernanabop Capruki? The troll whooped and hollered and danced, and Tanith moved a little closer. Not Fernanina Bop, he laughed. Not Capruki. Wow, Tanith said, looking worried. I'm not doing too well here, am I? Could it get eaten? You eat a lot of passers-by? Yes, yum, yum. You gobble them up all, don't you? They scream and cry and run away. I catch them, the troll giggled. Stroke of midnight, I'm big and strong and fast. Gobble them up, gobble them up, gobble them all up. They struggle and wriggle and tickle inside me. I better get my last guess right then. Eh, said Tanith. Is it Rumpelstiltskin? The troll laughed so hard he fell on his back. No, 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 he managed to say between gales of laughter. They always say that, always get it wrong. Tanith took one more step and dropped her smile. The sword flashed from her coat, but the troll saw it in time and squealed and rolled. Tanith cursed and swiped again, but the troll dodged beneath her and she spun and kicked out, sending him sprawling. He scrambled to his feet, hissing and spitting at her as she advanced, and then in the warm London night the sound of Big Ben. Midnight. Tanith lunged, but it was too late. The troll skipped back as his shoulders hunched and he snarled and started to grow. Nuts! Tanith whispered to herself. Muscles bulged in his arms and legs, stretching the skin so tight it looked like he might split. She moved forward again, but he flipped back through the air, and when he landed he was as tall as she was. His chest broadened and his neck thickened, and still he grew, and still he snarled. His bones popped and he finished growing. He was now almost twice her size. Face down, a fully grown troll was not what she had planned. She held the sword down by her leg and circled the creature. You cheated, the troll said, his voice now deep and guttural. You've been a naughty boy, she said. Gobble you up, gobble you all up, yes, yes. Tanith shot him a smile. Come and have a go if you think you're hard enough. The troll roared and lunged, moving fast despite his size, but Tanith was ready. She slipped to the side and then past him, her sword opening up his thigh. He hissed in pain and swung a massive fist that slammed into her back. She hit the ground hard. He went to stamp on her, but she rolled, coming up on one knee. Bringing the sword up from her side to her shoulder, and the blade found his arm. The troll stumbled back and she got to her feet. Gonna bite you, the troll growled. Gonna bite you into little pieces. Yes, yes. The game's not so much fun when you're playing with someone who can fight back, is it? My bridge, my game. She smiled at him. My rules, though. Another roar and he dived straight at her, and she stood her ground. One swipe of the sword took the fingers off his left hand, and he howled in pain and staggered back, and she jumped. She planted her feet on his chest and swung, the blade flashing in the bridge's lights as he took off his head. The troll's body stumbled back and she jumped off. The body hit the barrier and tipped backwards into the river. Tanith stooped to pick up the head and moved to the barrier. She turned as a man walked up. She'd never met him before, but she knew who he was. He was tall and bald, and his face was lined, and his eyes were a startling blue, the palest she had ever seen. His name was Mr. Bliss. Mr. Bliss nodded to the head in her hands. Risky. I've fought trolls before, she said respectfully. I mean the risk you took with being seen. It had to be done. This troll has killed many innocent people. But that's what trolls do. You can't blame him for doing what nature's intended. You don't know how to respond, Mr. Bliss smiled. She didn't know how to respond. Mr. Bliss smiled. I'm not berating you, he said. You've done a noble and selfless thing. That has to be admired. Thank you. You puzzle me, however. I have been keeping an eye on your progress over the last few years. It is unusual to find a mage, even an adept like you, focusing as heavily on physical conflict as you have done. Yet you don't seek power. I just want to help people. And that is what puzzles me. My mother used to tell me stories about the war, she said. I think you may be forgetting some selfless acts of your own. Mr. Bliss smiled softly. There is no heroism in war. There are simply things that need to be done. The heroes come later. But I'm not here to discuss philosophies. He looked at her with his startling blue eyes. A storm is brewing, Miss Lowe. Coming events will threaten to turn the tide of power in this world, and so I have left my place of solitude and come here, searching for you. I have need of someone of your ability and your outlook. I'm not sure I understand. The sorcerer Serpine is about to break the truce. If I fail in my endeavours, he will once again slip into war. I need you on our side. That would be an honour, Tanith said. We have much to learn from each other, Mr. Bliss responded, bowing. Make your way to Ireland, he said, and I will be in touch with you soon. She nodded and he walked away. Tanith threw the troll's head into the Thames and, hiding her sword under her coat, walked off in the other direction. Chapter 10. The Gal in Black. Stephanie was awoken the next morning by the stereo playing very loudly indeed. Her dad had been trying to tune into a news station and the volume knob had snapped off, so instead of a quiet little traffic report, they were treated to Wagner's, The Ride of the Valkyries at full blast. He had lost the remote control down the back of the sofa and hadn't the first clue how to turn the stereo off. The music reverberated through the floor and in the walls. There was no escaping its sheer power. By the time her mother had yanked the plug out of the socket, Stephanie was wide awake. Her mother poked her head in to say goodbye, and as her parents went off to work, Stephanie threw on a pair of jeans and a t-shirt. While she waited for Skulduggery to arrive, she thought about what would be a good name for her to take. Skulduggery had explained how the actual taking of a new name casts a seal around the old one. So Stephanie took the name Crystal Hammer. She didn't plan on it. Then the name Stephanie Edgley would be instantly immune to any controlling spells. But while she only went by her given name, she was vulnerable. If she were to have a new name, it would have to be a name she wouldn't be embarrassed about in years to come. It would have to be something classy and also something she felt comfortable with. Skulduggery had told her about people who'd taken names like Razor and Phoenix, and now he wouldn't advise anyone to take a name that seemed cool. He'd once introduced to a woman who had put on a little weight over the years, and hair had been a bit windswept, and she had spinach in her teeth, and he was told her name was Jet. Jet did not suit this woman, the same way Razor did not suit the short fat man who took that as a name. Stephanie looked up from her desk as Skulduggery knocked on the window. She opened it. I thought girls were supposed to be tidy, he said as he peered in. Stephanie kicked some underwear under her bed and ignored the comment. You okay out there? I've been perched on worse roofs, believe me. My parents have gone to work, you could have used the door. Doors of people with no imagination. Are you sure no one saw you? The last thing I need is for a neighbour to be passing and you see you climb up the side of the house. I were careful, don't you worry, and I have something for you. He gave her a piece of short chalk. Thank you. Go to your mirror. I'm sorry. Go to your mirror and draw the symbol on it. He handed her a small card that showed an eye in a circle with a wavy line through it. What's this for? It's to help you. Go on. She frowned and went to the mirror. No, Skulduggery said. A full-length mirror. Do you have one? Yes, Stephanie said. Still with no clue why she was doing this, she opened her wardrobe and used the chalk to copy the symbol onto the mirror on the other side of the door. When she was done, she handed the card and the chalk back to Skulduggery. He thanked her, put them away, and then looked at the mirror. Surface speak, surface feel, surface think, surface real. He looked at her again. Could you wipe the symbol off now, please? What is going on? What are you doing? Did you just cast a spell on my mirror? Yeah, could you wipe the symbol off? Well, what does the spell do? She asked as she used her sleeve to erase the chalk. You'll see, he answered. Are you wearing a watch? My watch broke. I wore it swimming. I thought it was waterproof. Were it? As it turned out, no. Why do you need to know the time? Oh, I don't. Touch the mirror. She narrowed her eyes. Why? Touch the mirror. Stephanie hesitated, then did as he said, and reached out, touching her fingers lightly against the mirror. But when she pulled back, her reflection did not. She watched in amazement as her reflection blinked, as if awakening from a trance, then dropped its arm to its side and looked around. Then, very slowly, it stepped out through the mirror. Oh my God, Stephanie said, moving back as the reflection joined her in the room. Oh my God, she said again, because she couldn't think of anything else to say. Skulduggery looked on from the window. It will carry on with your life while you're away, so you'll not be missed. Stephanie stared. She's me. No, she ain't. And it ain't you. It's a surface copy. It walks like you, talks like you, behaves like you, and it should be enough to fool your parents and anyone else it comes into contact with. When you return, it goes back into the mirror, and the experiences and the memories it has may transfer to you. So, I can be in two places at once. Precisely. It could spend too long in another person's company, or they'll start to notice. that things aren't quite right and it would never fool the mage, but it's ideal for your needs. Wow. Stephanie peered closer at the reflection. Say something. The reflection looked back at her. What do you want me to say? Stephanie laughed suddenly and then clapped her hand over her mouth. You sound just like me, she said through her fingers. I know. Do you have a name? My name's Stephanie. No name of your own. Stephanie Skulduggery shook his head. Remember, it's not a real person. It has no thoughts or feelings of its own. They're all imitations of yours. It's your own reflection. That's all it is. Operating instructions are as follows. It cannot change out of the clothes you're wearing when you cast it. So make sure you're not wearing anything with a logo or insignia. They'll come out backwards. Make sure you're not wearing a watch or a ring. They'll appear on the opposite hand. Apart from that, it's pretty simple. Wow, we should go. She turned to him, frowning. Are you sure they won't realise it's not me? It'll stay out of people's way for most of the time and try to avoid any long conversations. Even if your parents corner it and bombard it with questions, they'll just think you're acting strange. Stephanie chewed her lip, then shrugged. I suppose jumping to the conclusion that it's my reflection come to life is a bit unlikely. You'd be surprised by how many things we get away with that fall into the category of unlikely. You ready to go? I suppose I am. Do you want to leave by a door or window? Doors are for people with no imagination. Stephanie grinned and joined Skulduggery on the windowsill. She took one look back. The reflection was standing in the middle of the room, perfectly still. Bye, Stephanie said. Bye, the reflection responded and tried a smile for the first time. It looked kind of eerie. Stephanie climbed out and hung on to the Skulduggery as he jumped, displacing the air beneath them to act as a cushion. They landed gently and made it to the edge of the road without any neighbours seeing them. But when they reached the pier, Stephanie's face fell. She stared in horror as Skulduggery marched on. What the hell is that? She demanded. It's me car, Skulduggery answered, leaning against it with his arms folded. The sea breeze ruffled his wig beneath his hat. She stared at him, at the car, and then at him again. What happened to the Bentley? She asked. His head tilted. I don't know if you noticed, but it was ever so slightly dinged. And where is it now? It's getting fixed. Right, that's a good answer. Fixed is a good answer, but I don't know. I'm kind of drawn back to my original question. What the hell is that? Skulduggery was leaning against a canary yellow hatchback with lime green covered seat. It's a replacement car, he said proudly. It's hideous. I don't mind it, actually. Well, you're wearing a disguise, so no one will recognise you anyway. That may have something to do with it. When will the Bentley be fixed? That's the nice thing about living in a world of magic, and one day even almost extreme car repairs happen in less than a week. Stephanie glared at him. A week? Not a week, he said quickly. 6 days, sometimes 5, definitely 4. I'll call him tomorrow, tell him I'll pay extra. She was still glaring. Day after tomorrow. Till it's tomorrow, he said quietly. Her shoulders sagged. Do we really have to ride around in this? Think of it as an adventure, he said brightly. Why should I do that? Because if you don't, you'll just become really, really depressed. Trust me. Hop in. Skulduggery hopped in. Stephanie dragged her feet around to the other side and more kind of fell in. She squirmed down in the lime green seat as much as she could as they drove through, haggard. There was a purse in the back seat wrapped in brown paper and tied with string. Beside that was a black bag. Is that the gear for breaking into the vault? She asked. Is that where we're going? Well, to answer your first question first, yes. That bag contains all the equipment needed for a beautifully executed break-in. To answer your second question, no, that is not where we're going. Before I get to introduce you to your life of crime, I get to introduce you to the Elder Mages. Crime sounds more fun. As indeed it is, though I would never condone crime in any of its forms, except when I do it, naturally. Naturally. So why are we delaying the fun? What do these Elder Mages want? They've heard that I've been dragging a perfectly nice young lady into all manner of trouble, and they want to admonish me for it. Tell them it's none of their business. Well, while I do my moxie. What's moxie? I'm afraid that won't work too well with these follows. One thing you have to remember about the Elder Mages is that they're... Really, old sorceress? Well, yeah. Worked that out all by myself. You must be so proud. Why do you have to report to them? Do you work for them? In a way, the elders pass the laws and they have people who enforce the laws, but there are only a few of us who actually investigate the breaking of the laws. Murderers, robberies, a couple of kidnappings, the usual. And while I may be freelance, most of my work and my money comes from the elders. So if they want to wag their fingers at you, I have to stand there and be wagged at. So why do they want me to be there? Aren't I the innocent young girl being led astray? See, I don't really want them to view you as the innocent young girl. I want them to view you as the rebellious and subordinate troublesome tearaway who has made herself my partner. Then maybe they'll take pity on me. Wait, do they even know I'm coming with you? No, but they like surprises almost always. Maybe I should wait in the car. In this car? Ah, good point. Stephanie, we both know something serious is going on, but as the elders have refused to consider that their precious truce might be in jeopardy. And why would they believe me and not you? Because I go to them loaded with baggage, I have a history, and some might say an agenda. Besides, tales of horror are always more effective coming from a lady. I'm no lady. He shrugged. You're the closest I've got. We're leaving it there.